City of Hanahan has grown 60%, and now leaders of the city are looking towards the future with a master plan and a comprehensive plan. Today, I speak exclusively with Hanahan Mayor Christie Rainwater for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Hanahan Mayor Christie Rainwater, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks so much, Quintin. I am so happy to be here with you today. It's always good to see you and talk about Hanahan. So my favorite guy, my favorite city. It's going to be a good day.
Absolutely. Thank God and Jesus for that. Well, let me ask you this, Mayor. The state of Hanahan is?
It's amazing. It's always a great day to be alive, but when you're in Hanahan, it's extra special. Our community, the people in it, it just makes it such a special place. And then in addition to that, there's some really cool things going on. Lots of redevelopment. We're in a great place financially. Some new parks are on the way. So it's a good place to be in. The state of the City of Hanahan is more than good.
That is amazing to hear. What has been the most important thing that has changed in Hanahan in the past 4 years?
Oh, the past 4 years. I feel like there has been quite a few changes. Obviously, just getting through COVID and not only surviving through it, but here in Hanahan, we set up a vaccine clinic. And then also testing. So that really helped us navigate some muddy waters that were going on during that. But it really didn't slow down a lot of the achievements that the city of Hanahan has made. One of the biggest things are the new parks that are going to be coming in. We did a bond referendum this past November on the ballot, and it passed with an overwhelming majority. Over 75% said yes to that. And so we are well underway with one park, and the other park is still permitting and planning, but should be breaking ground soon. So in addition to that, we upgraded all our current parks. So really focusing, people got outdoors and we saw that and we said, let's, continue to make it a great place to be.
Absolutely. And I might be having some feedback there, but let me talk to you about that park that's still obviously with the permitting and allocation period. Has an RFP been sent in for that?
That's something I'd have to update and see exactly where we're at. I know that we're working specifically with someone on design plan. That's already been taken care of. But as far as the digging of the dirt, turning that over, I'm not exactly sure where it is in the process. I know we made a few modifications, but at this point we're pretty much set with what it'll look like. It'll have a kayak launch, some walking trails, a playground, an outdoor space where people could do entertaining or parties. And just really be a sweet place for Hanahan to enjoy. And it's right on the water. So it's just always beautiful. That's one cool feature about Hanahan is we have water everywhere.
Yes. And
so we really get to enjoy the different ways that you can enjoy water, whether you're looking or not in it. There's quite a few gators around here as far as swimming, but in it with some boating or kayaking or things like that.
Wow, that's amazing. I love the Hanahan Amphitheater as always.
Yes. We've had some cool events, and we have a lot more coming up now that the weather is, it's kind of chilly now, but we're going to be heading toward the warmer weather. And so that's something that we actually were recently talking to Berkeley County about, just getting the word out more. We recently had Riley Green there, and our biggest concert was Tracy Lawrence, but we also host things like weddings or just smaller events. So it's a great space to use.
Absolutely. And talk to me more about where you are financially. You said you all are good. How did you get there?
Hanahan is very smart and resourceful, and we have a wonderful finance director. We actually just received our audit report at our last city council meeting, and it came back clean, unmodified. We have a fund balance of $10.7 million, which is huge for a city our size, very large fund balance. So especially this day and age, looking at where certain things are financially, I'm very grateful for our staff who has done more with less. And the way they utilize our funds, being smart with it, and then also just making sure that what we do is always above board. So we're really in a great place financially. So it's so great to not just feel that way, but actually hear it from the auditor.
And what has your staff done more with less?
That's a good question. They do some sort of a magic. I'm not quite sure. But, I think when you cast that vision and just say, hey, listen, this is what we have to work with. We know it's difficult. And then you kind of give them some space to say, how can you do this best? We don't just say, keep doing things the way they've always been done. Now, if something's working, we don't necessarily want to change that. But if something's not working or we need something to change, we really do encourage them and bring them to the table to say, how can we make this better? And I think, sometimes it's a little thing, sometimes it's a big tweak, but giving them a little freedom to try it. And I'm a big person too on just having freedom to fail. Obviously, you don't want to be failing too big too often. But in general, we never get anywhere if we don't try. So I have a coaster that I had a few coasters made recently, and different quotes I had put on them. And one of them is, failure is success when we learn from it. So giving our team some space to say, let's try something new, let's reevaluate it, see if it's working, has worked well. But they're kind of pros at that. They've done it for a long time, doing more with less in the city of Hanahan. We have one of the lowest tax rates in the Low Country. So it's a great thing for our residents. It's a great thing for our businesses here to just have that lower tax base, but we're still making sure we're maximizing that. In fact, I'll give you one example that's solid. Our fire chief is absolutely wonderful, Bo Bowers, and he recently brought us from an ISO class 3 to an ISO class 4, which is not an easy thing to do. It's a very challenging thing to do, and he met all the requirements. The first time we went for it, we were short on just one thing, so again, well, let's try again, let's not give up, and we tweaked it, and we made it ISO 2. So insurances might not even realize this yet, but they'll be seeing it soon if they haven't. Their insurance rates are falling, businesses and residents, but the businesses will see it in a huge way.
Wow. And I want to talk about the businesses in just a second, but what else is your staff that is reevaluating when it comes to the future of City of Hanahan?
I think really just having a regular mindset of doing that. So not necessarily anything specific at the moment, but just saying, what are we doing that's working well, and what are we doing where we need some improvement? And then, just fostering that, whether it be within their department or bringing the department heads together to say what's going on, and then we could do that. So we do that pretty regularly.
You talk about failure and obviously success. What have you failed at as mayor, and what have you been successful at thus far?
Oh, goodness gracious, Quintin. I would have needed to think about that one before getting here today. I'm sure I failed at several things along the way. Thankfully, I don't have anything major, by the grace of God, that, I can stand here and say that it's been major. But, I feel like as far as success, just really working tight with my team. I'm not one to say, let me just run with something, but I'm also not one to just say, just go without my support. So I really try to look at what are the strengths of our council members, what's the strength of our department heads, and let's maximize those strengths. So if I get a call about something and it's not something that I'm an expert at, I'm going to call a council member that is their thing. And I'm going to say, hey, I got this call. What do you think about this? Or can you take care of that? Or whatnot, because they know it better than me. So maybe just in general, acknowledging where my strengths aren't. Talk about failures, just, to flat out say, hey, this is not my strength. I don't need to try to get in this lane and take control and be the only face of Hanahan and handle things, but to really say, who has this strength? Let's bring them into this conversation and just make this the best that it could be on behalf of the city. So I love really being a part of a team. I love knowing what their strengths are, and I love that our team is so amazing here that we do really pull together and work to get the best things out for our city and our residents.
That is amazing. Okay, what is the strength of the council, and what is the strength of your department heads?
Oh, that's a good one. So I think one of the strengths of our council is that we actually are pretty cohesive, which is not always the case in municipal government. Some city council meetings are a little crazy out there, and sometimes they need to be, But in general, we get through things well, and it doesn't mean we always agree, but we don't take it outside. Whatever we wind up voting on, whatever we finish up, we're smiling when we leave, we're shaking hands, and we're really trying to understand the other's perspective. We have great conversation. We don't come in with something set where we don't have openness to an alternate perspective. So I remember seeing once, I want to say it was maybe Google in there, and it could have been a different company, but I'm pretty sure it was Google, in their ad for hiring someone. One of the requirements was the ability to change one's mind when given new information. And I thought it was so interesting that it actually had to be listed there, because it's true. Today's day and age, you name the issue, and we often dig our feet in. But when you look at things, new information comes, you have to be able to say, does this change my current perspective? And so, coming in with the research you've done, with the thoughts that you have, but also maintaining that open mind and having the ability to change your perspective if needed, that's huge. And so we do a real good job of that. And our department had the same thing. They work together as a team. It's not just me and my department, I'm in my lane. It's, let's work together. We are a smaller staffed city. We do have to do more with less. So how can we make this as efficient as possible and as effective as possible? And so I think it really involves openness and having a lot of good conversations, and that's a strength in the city of Hanahan.
What new information currently has changed your mind about certain issues?
Oh, that's a good, I don't want to get too controversial. This is usually pretty nonpartisan, Quintin, but I would have to say the vaccine. That's something that I pushed kind of early in the beginning. I wouldn't say pushed really because I'm really a big freedom believer. Like if it's right for you, get it. If it's not right for you, don't get it. But I was like, here, it's available if you want it. So I shouldn't say pushed it because I never necessarily said you need to get this. It has to be. But I wanted to make sure it was available. But after we've just seen everything that's gone on with the Omicron variant and the changes that have been made, I'm kind of like, hey, I think we need, I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I think we need to step back and ask some questions. And so I think that, not just saying yes to the vaccine or no to the vaccine and digging my heels in, I've been able to say, well, now that we've gone a year with vaccines, is it working? Yes, but is it working as they originally thought it was? Not necessarily. So how do we reevaluate that? Is this best for everyone? Is it not? And honestly, I'm kind of proud of our government right now. There's, a lot of conversations happening, and I think that's where it starts. Is just being willing to say maybe we need to at least have a conversation and go from there.
And as you know, next door in the city of North Charleston, a lot of the firefighters and police officers left because they say, hey, I don't want a vaccine mandate. I don't want to take a vaccine. Is that the situation in Hanahan?
It's not the situation in Hanahan. In fact, we've always reigned on the side of your choice. So even when mask mandates were going around the low country, we never had one. Now, on the other side of things, there were some cities that never did anything. Okay. We said we're going to do a resolution, not an ordinance. So we recommended them using common sense. When you think you need it, you need it. But if you're walking down the sidewalk and no one's near you, you obviously don't need it. So we felt like we put that onus on the residents to make the best choices that they could. And then we actually wound up winning an award in the state of South Carolina for the way we handled COVID. We had some of the lowest numbers. And we chose to have a testing site set up where it was convenient and free for people. So if they felt, they weren't well, they could easily come. It was very accessible, didn't cost any money. And so we just chose to take a different route versus forcing things on people. So it was definitely a very different route than some of the cities around, but I feel like it went really well. And that's kind of where we've stood with the vaccine. We have it available right here in our fire department. So if our employees want it, they're welcome to get it, but we have not mandated anything for anyone. And for me personally, Quintin, I just feel like the goal is to save lives. And so that doesn't just mean physically, it's mentally, it's emotionally. I want to provide quality of life even in the middle of chaos as much as I can. And so if I'm making decisions that are causing people to lose their jobs or making decisions that are, affecting quality of life in a negative way, I feel like it wouldn't be in the best interest of our city. So at this point, and honestly, no judgment for anyone else who has made a different decision than me, because it's just not an easy time to be a leader. And no matter what choice I make or what choice another mayor makes, there are going to be a lot of people that disagree with us. So it's really, really hard because we're trying to do the best we can. And so everybody, they're doing the best they can. I honor them for even stepping up to be a leader in a time like this. But for me, myself, and our city, and honestly, our whole council is, talked thoroughly about this and whatnot. We've chosen to do our best to provide things for those that want it, but not mandate it for those that don't. And I feel like the numbers have spoken for themselves.
What are the numbers right now as far as COVID in the city of Hanahan?
You know what? There have been some issues this week with reporting. So I haven't had a report in, I'd say, maybe a week or two with numbers because of some issues they're having on the state level on the back end. So I can't answer that. But I will tell you, around the week of Christmas, New Year's, I watched it like double. I mean, we went up so high, then it suddenly dropped down. And my biggest concern, again, I don't want anyone to get this. I just had it myself at the beginning of the year. So we don't want anyone to get it, but in the long run, my biggest concern is are people dying over it. There's a difference through getting through it and stuff. So I'm very thankful that the Omicron, for most people, not everybody, has been more mild than previous versions of COVID. And so, hopefully it just continues to get weaker, or it just, obviously we would love a miracle for it to go away.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. As you know, the city of Charleston and the city of North Charleston has those vaccine mandates for their employees. How many of those employees left those particular cities that came to your city?
I'd have to get a report on that, but I do know that we were like, hey, if you need a place, you're welcome here. I know Berkeley County picked up a lot, so it just really depended. So I don't have an exact number for you, but I do know we did our best to say, hey, we want to make sure that everybody is still able to feed their families. You're welcome to come here if you need to come.
Yes, ma'am. Switching gears, let's talk about, obviously, right now in the city of Hanahan. What's more important for Hanahan right now? building new homes in commercial space, or rehabbing, expanding, and better utilizing the existing homes?
Well, Quinn, I would say a little bit of both. I say let's take it all, right? Let's work. The more we kind of tackle things on both sides, it's going to do better, faster. We do have a lot going on with economic development. And some of that is new development, but a lot of it is redevelopment in our downtown area, both commercially and residentially. So you see a lot of flips or spot development in the residential area where, you'll have some older houses and then all of a sudden you'll see a brand new one or one that you can see just got a lot of love. And so that's been real exciting to see. And then downtown, there's just a lot going on with new businesses coming in. I literally just had a meeting yesterday. We spent about 2 hours together, an hour in my office and an hour walking around the city with a developer investor that's wanting to come into Hanahan. So those happen regularly here. And so I just feel like there's a lot of good things already going on and a lot of opportunity ahead. And, I just love that because there is something called leakage in the city of Hanahan where people are going to other cities to go out to eat or to go to the doctor, just some general things that every human does. But we don't have those services in the city of Hanahan because we are more a bedroom community. We have more rooftops. And so we're looking to bring those in, for quality of life, keep people from having to come home in battle traffic and go back out to get dinner in battle traffic, but also to keep the tax base low. When the city of Hanahan residents go spend their money in other cities, you're pouring money into their cities and not ours. And we want to make sure we keep that low millage rate that we already have in Hanahan. We want to keep it here. So by bringing in more of those services and people are spending their money that they're already spending just within the city limits, it helps us keep the taxes low because the money's being reinvested right here. So there is a strong emphasis on that as well.
Yes, ma'am. Let me jump right into those questions. How would you approach that economic growth without hurting the average Hanahan resident in the wallet?
Well, it really won't hurt the average Hanahan resident in the wallet. It will help them. So it's not something, we're not doing anything that would negatively affect them. We're revitalizing the downtown area. And we also have other areas throughout the city are growing. The Tanner Plantation area just welcomed in a Lowe's Food. Our brand new coffee shop, The Brew, is like quite the hit for the Low Country. Nigel's is coming in. Famulari's just came in. So there's a lot of new businesses coming in all over. And then we're watching that also occur on the downtown level. So what happens is people that would be going out to eat or spending, going to the grocery store instead of going to another city, when they come here, the money stays in the city limits instead of going elsewhere. So it actually does nothing but help them. There is no negative side to it as far as their wallet is concerned. Only a blessing.
Yes, ma'am. I want to get, sorry with the feedback there, but I'm going to get back to more of those questions in just a moment. Where in the city do you identify and also develop those unique characteristics when it comes to residential, commercial, and mixed use?
So mixed use is definitely at the top of our list because we still do need additional houses. The city of Hanahan has grown 60% over the past decade. And so we need some more of that, but we really do need a lot of that commercial or mixed use spaces. So I think it really starts with getting the word out. We like to refer to Hanahan as the secret gem, and we want to kind of keep it that way because it's such a special place. The culture, I feel like it's the American dream. We get to send our kids out to play. When they get home from school and we tell them to come home and the lights go on, and you just can't do that anywhere. Everybody knows each other at the ball fields and in the band, and it's just so sweet to have that. So we don't want to change that culture, but in the same respect, we want to make sure that we're providing their needs. So I think really just welcoming them in and kind of getting that word out that this amazing city is right in the center of the Low Country. I like to actually call it, Quintin, the heart of the Low Country. If you look at the entire Low Country and you've got Charleston, Mount Pleasant, James Island, you got Somerville up here, we're right in the middle. We're just the heart of Low Country in lots of ways. So just a central location is so great. So what I've been doing a lot is I love to do public speaking. I do it very regularly. And I've been invited to a lot of different luncheons with business owners, realtors, investors, where I come and share just a little bit about the city of Hanahan. And then I offer a follow-up meeting. And so I've had meeting after meeting after meeting for months now, just people that say, hey, tell me more. And so being willing to work hand in hand with them as well is so huge. A lot of times they have maybe a business, a florist, they want to come in. They don't necessarily know all the details of it. And so having someone say, hey, we're here to support you as you build your American dream is huge. So we work really hard to make it as personable and welcoming as possible.
And as you mentioned, I went back and watched the interview you did with Layla Gul just last night. You said, obviously, you just mentioned this in the interview, that is a few seconds ago, but Hanahan has grown, that is 60%. When did you want to reach that particular growth percentage?
Well, I don't think we necessarily have a goal necessarily of looking to grow to a certain spot, and we are landlocked. So there's only so much, we're surrounded by cities, we're surrounded by water, there's only so much more to go around. So we're not anticipating a ton more growth. There will be some, but not a ton more growth. So I think we've really seen the large pop of it. And at this point, it's really going to shift the focus, to continue to walk through those that are still doing some development, but then shifting a little bit over to the redevelopment side. How do we make what we already have better?
And how would you maintain and enhance the existing residential and commercial character of your city and provide for compatible, appropriate, and high quality development and redevelopment?
We have recently changed some ordinances in the city of Hanahan, and that's a big thing for developers. They want to know that it's going to work for them. And so instead of, kind of having that issue on the backside, we went ahead proactively and said, what is working? What do they need? Let's change that. And so that when they do come, they're able to really do what they're looking to do on the front end, and then continuing to get the word out about the changes that we've made to make it a welcoming place.
Yes, ma'am. And I want to get back to that too. And that's one of my questions later on. But what was that percentage, a projected percentage that is 5 years ago for Hanahan?
It definitely wasn't 60%. I know we were growing much faster than anyone anticipated.
And you just mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to ask a redundant question here. But how do you keep that small town culture when Hanahan has grown to 60%?
Listen, Quintin, when I became mayor, there was one thing I knew for sure, and it was don't change that. Do not mess it up. Rock it like a baby, because it is the most special thing ever. And honestly, I think it's just the spirit of the people here. I can't really take much credit for that. It's something that they love it, and they make sure they know it. Everybody just, Friday Night Lights, it's your kid might not even be playing, and you're out there and you're just cheering on the hometown team. You're encouraging that, and you just see people again in our park and rec spaces. We're making sure they're available. We're making sure that there's enough for everyone, and the ones that are already existing are up to par, beautifying it all. And then just providing for different opportunities, events, things like that, where people are welcomed out, people connect with other people. But honestly, just the heart of the people in the city is such a special thing, and it literally shines. So I love it.
Absolutely. How is Hanahan absorbing Berkeley County's growth?
So we are definitely not the fastest growing area in Hanahan, because we've already had so many rooftops. Like I said, 10 years ago, it definitely jumped when the Tanner Plantation area was added on. But since then, we're not necessarily the fastest, but I would say just general regular conversations with Berkeley County to make sure we're doing it well. So that's just as important, if not more important, than the number of growth, is to make sure that the growth is managed well. So just this week, we had a meeting Monday morning to say, how can we partner better on some other issues? Sometimes it's overall with the elected officials. Other times it's getting staff together and saying, let's do this well. But maintaining those good relationships and having those conversations has really fostered a great partnership between Hanahan and Berkeley County to make sure that we're doing what's best for the residents.
And what of those issues do you want to actually partner with Berkeley County?
Well, the ones that we talked about this week were specifically related to Cypress Gardens. We're looking to really provide a little bit, it's a little bit out there. I think a lot of Hanahan residents kind of know about it, but maybe not. So how do we just say, hey, this is your Berkeley County park. Have you seen it outside of the Notebook or the Patriot? Like, have you stepped on it? Because it's just gorgeous, and you get to go there too. It's not just the scenes from the movies we've seen filmed out there. And so we've talked about maybe providing some specific Hanahan related events out there to just encourage people to check it out, see what they think of it. And then also bringing Berkeley County on our soil. We do a lot of events at our amphitheater, as you mentioned. It's such a beautiful space right on the water in Hanahan. We love doing things there. And, just up the road, we have the Berkeley County Animal Shelter, and they do a lot of events to get their puppies and kittens adopted. And we said, what if we bring y'all on site when we're having those events? So we talked about which specific ones would work, how we coordinate that, and really just made sure the staff people know each other and are having those conversations. So that was the focus of the recent meeting, to just say, let's, not just keep you in your bubble and us in our bubble, but let's bring us together.
Absolutely. And what are those population projections, that is, for the city of Hanahan from, say, 10 years from now?
I I do not know that off the top of my head, Quintin. I would have to go check that out. We, interestingly enough, had some issues with the census. Our census came in low, much lower than we anticipated. If you look at any source outside of the census, any other data source, you will see the city of Hanahan coming in just under 30,000 residents, which would put us as the 17th largest city in the state of South Carolina out of 275. So actually, even though we're this tiny little gem in the Charleston area, we are a big city in the state of South Carolina. But these numbers came in super low, in the low 20,000s. And so now we're having to go through the process, which unfortunately takes time and money to have that redone. It's about a 3-year process. But it's super important because it determines how much federal funding comes to us. It determines our residents' voices, how much representation they have on the federal level, on the state level. And that's not something that we're willing to sacrifice to them and just say, oh, well, we'll wait 10 years on these numbers. We're saying we need to get this right. And so we're going to go ahead and dig in and start to go through that process. We've already been in touch with our federal representatives to make sure that they're working closely with us. They allow that to become a more accurate number for our residents so that they get the benefits from it.
What else surprised you about these particular census numbers?
Really, just when we got the number, I about said, that could not be right. If you look at, Hanahan, our average median age is in the upper 30s. It's a lot of young families. And if you were to just look at the average number of rooftops we have with the amount of people that they average, we would still not have the right numbers. So it just, from the naked eye, it was very obvious that things were wrong. So to have it that far off where, without even doing an audit, I could see that the numbers were wrong, it was shocking. I wish I knew exactly what caused that or whatnot, but either way, we're just going to do what it takes to make sure it's rectified.
And have you done an audit?
We've not done that. So basically, it's this super long process that we have to go through, about 3 years, and there are very specific steps that we have to take. So we had to actually wait for a window to open for us to even say, hey, we want to appeal this. And so that recently happened, and we've taken our first step. So we're going to just keep doing it one step at a time.
And I know next door at the city of North Charleston, sorry again for the feedback, but obviously they received millions of dollars in federal funding, that is, from the federal government. How much have you received in the city of Hanahan?
That's actually an interesting point. I'm kind of happy you brought that up, Quintin. So we got in our ARPA funds, and you'll have to forgive me if it was not the exact number, but I want to say it was about $13 million is what we got from our federal funding. This is specifically the ARPA funding I'm assuming you're referring to.
Yes.
And so because North Charleston and some of the other cities around here are larger, they got it directly. It went right into their bank account. They had it before us. So that kind of put us already at all cities that are smaller, it put us at a disadvantage because they were able to start spending it, and then we had to kind of get in line behind them. So it's kind of harder on the smaller towns. I feel like we have to fight a little bit harder for our residents, and we're willing to get in the fight, but it definitely, like I said, is a little bit of a disadvantage there. But the other thing that was super big challenge is there were some rules. I shouldn't say some rules. There were a lot of rules that came along with this money that said you had to spend it a certain way by a certain time, you had to track it, all these details that we kind of handle on the back end. Yes, and so one of the rules was that it can't be a certain percentage more of your budget. So if your budget is this, it could be this percentage of it. Well, like I mentioned earlier, Quintin, we are a very conservative, fiscally conservative city. We have one of the lowest tax rates, and we try to do more with less. So because of that, we have a low budget. And so we actually had to give some of the money back. I'm so sad, which I feel like we were penalized for being a fiscally conservative city because the cities that have larger budgets and are spending it all, they got to keep it all. But they looked at our population, they looked at what's going on, and they said, this is how much you should get. And then we had to look at our budget and go, well, we actually don't spend that much every year. So they said, send it on back. And so I have reached out to one of our federal representatives and just, spoke with him about it because I felt like it just wasn't right. If the federal government is handing out money based on size and whatnot, then we should get because that's our size, not penalized because we've done well with taxpayer money because we've chosen to do more with less. So that was super disappointing. But the truth is, we're good at doing more with less. So we went ahead and we got to work. So I'm still very grateful for the money. We decided what we thought we wanted to do with a large portion of it. We've also kind of, you do have a certain amount of time to spend it, so we'll make sure we spend it all. We don't want any of it to go to waste or have to hand back any more money. But we did set a certain amount aside because who knows if COVID's going to spike again or if we're going to have more issues. So we didn't also just, want to be like a kid in a candy shop and just spend it all because we had it. But we really tried to make wise choices within the parameters that we had. And so some things are already on their way. And then we were able to have certain things that we had in our general budget moved over to that, which frees up money for other things that we want to do. So our finance director is absolutely fabulous. She's just amazing with what she does in the city of Hanahan. So she's guided us well through that.
You received $13 million. How much money did you actually have to send back to the federal government?
I'd have to check with her on that exact number. And I want to say I think maybe either we got 14 million, then we were allowed to spend 13 million, or I know there was probably about 2 million there. But please don't hold me to it. I have to look at the numbers to be accurate with you.
Well, no worries. And what are those other things that you want to do with this money?
So like I said, there are a lot of rules. There's a lot of parameters. So it really has to be related to some sort of a safety feature. But the cool thing is there were some things in Hanahan that really needed an upgrade. So I'll give you an example, water fountains. We have the old type where you press the button, stick your face by it. Definitely not the most sanitary thing in the 2020 time period. So we're upgrading all of those. So little things like that, but also big things like a brand new fire truck, new trash trucks, things that cost a ton of money and normally come out of our fleet fund or general funding. And at this point, we're able to clear up that money or save for the future. And Hanahan does really do a good job. We don't really do debt. We do have that bond referendum for the parks right now, but no other debt outside of that, none. So we'd like to keep it that way along with that large fund balance. So really being able to shift some things around that we would have had to purchase and now, replace that way, we're able to do a lot with it.
And how much money have you saved thus far?
We have $10.7 million in our general fund balance right now. So it's a very strong place to be for a city that size. The auditor was quite impressed.
And speaking of, obviously, the city, let's talk about it. What are the income characteristics for the city of Hanahan?
The average person here in the city of Hanahan, when you look at the median income, is around $70,000 a year. So that puts us right under Mount Pleasant. As far as that, and even the value of people's houses. We come in right under Mount Pleasant when you're looking at the low country. So we have some strong places to be there too. The median ages is in the upper 30s. Wow. But what's very interesting too, Quintin, about the city of Hanahan, I was just talking to somebody else about this. We have a lot of multi-generational families right here. You'll have grandma and grandpa living on this street, and 2 streets over, you've got their daughter and their kids, and maybe a few streets over, their other daughter and their kids. So it's just so sweet when you do come out to the ball fields at Hanahan, or you see kids playing in the street in the afternoon after school, because sometimes they're just friends, sometimes they're family, but people do love the city. They stay here forever. They leave. They want to come back. They want to retire here. And that's actually something we're working on, is some additional senior housing right now, because it's something that I feel like we could do better in the city of Hanahan. And we're actually about to dig some dirt on the very first senior housing apartment complex that's coming to town.
Wow. How many more of those, the feedback again, how many of those senior complexes do you want to obviously have in the city of Hanahan in the next 5 years?
We've not necessarily set a number, but we've definitely started to get our voice out about that and pursue it. Again, some people do just want a house and they could just buy a house, but if they want something more specific, we are lacking. So I invite anyone who's listening to this and wants to do some senior housing here. I would love to see something like a Del Webb or a specific housing development that's just for seniors, but also some condos, or not actually condos, townhomes. There was recently a developer coming in, and he's going to be doing some single family and also some townhomes. So I called them, asked them how far along they were in plans, and then suggested, something that we have people looking for is additional townhomes. But for the aging population, they don't want an elevated townhome, or you have to put an elevator in it. And would they consider that in their plans to make sure that we're thinking of our seniors and providing their needs as well? So, again, it's up to the developer. It is America. They own the dirt, and they're allowed to do what they want with it. But I think just really making them aware of the need, and then having the conversation about it, taking time to just call them up and say, hey, did you know? And this would be helpful, hopefully is getting the ball rolling. Maybe not everyone will do it, but hopefully some will go ahead and jump at that opportunity.
And what are the needs for the aging population in the city of Hanahan?
I mean, basically, it's like any other city. The median age is 35, so I mean, you have it on all ends. But just in general, when you drive through or you go to the ball fields, you'll see all ages. We really are so diverse in our age. It's socioeconomically, racially. I love that about the city of Hanahan. You'll find a little bit of everything here.
And what is the current home value in the city of Hanahan?
Oh, I should know that off the top of my head. I want to say it's in the upper threes.
Yes, ma'am.
It's changed a lot this year.
Oh, for sure, absolutely. In your mind, what are the top 3 reasons people choose to live in Hanahan?
Well, the number one thing I would say is that culture. When you see, what we have here, I think it really is an American dream, that people, if they want to live in the suburbs, this is where you find that. The other thing I would say is the schools. We have the most amazing teachers, the most amazing administration in our local schools, Blue Ribbon National Award-winning schools. So that is definitely, I hear that very often, about the schools. And again, the culture that's right with our kids that we're bringing up, I think that's really a big piece of it. And then the other thing I would say is the location. We, like I've already mentioned, are the heart of the Lowcountry. We're right in the center. We're 15 minutes downtown, 15 minutes to Somerville. You're at the beaches. You're up at the farms. Wherever you want to be, you're right in the center. And, Lowcountry Rapid Transit is going to be coming down. You're probably familiar with that, the Rapid Bus Line. I serve on the Chats Committee, so I get some pretty regular updates on that. And one thing that I love about it is that 4 stops, they're actually in North Charleston, but they're right across the border from Hanahan, walkable. One in particular is going to be one of their central stops, is right a mile, not even a mile, less than a mile from our downtown corridor. So what an opportunity for redevelopment when you know that this mass transit line is coming in a walkable area to your downtown. It's just going to be really huge for the area. So I'm excited about what that'll mean for Hanahan as well. But those 3 features are definitely ones that I would say are the top ones when people are coming to Hanahan.
And I'm looking at out of town residents are actually moving to Hanahan each year.
Well, going back to that 60% growth, we're seeing a lot of it. But at this point, the other thing that I do is I'm a realtor. So one thing that I found really interesting lately is, when we pull up our MLS system, we've really been hovering between 15 to 25 houses available in the entire city, 30,000 people, a correct census number. There's about 15 to 25 houses available on any given day. That's it. That's not a lot of houses available. So people that are here, they want to stay here, and it's kind of hard to snag a house in Hanahan. When one comes up, you kind of got to jump at it. So there's, in other cities, you'll see much larger numbers available at any given time, but Hanahan, there's just, a low amount. So there's high demand.
Absolutely. And what is that bedroom size in the city of Hanahan?
We really have a wide variety. You could find something with 2 bedrooms. You could find something with 6 bedrooms. I'll normally see houses. The lowest you're really going to find is in the low 2s for a house that's, unless you're doing a total flip or demo, it would be under 2. But like the low 2s is where you could find some stuff. And then I think there's one on the market right now for $1.6 million on the reservoir. And it's just beautiful. So we really have affordability on every level. Whatever you're looking for, we've probably got it here.
And what is that housing rate in the city of Hanahan?
The absorption rate, like where people are buying and selling, because like I mentioned earlier, there's just not a lot available. It's really low. When houses hits the market, they usually go pretty fast. But I mean, I feel like that's in general, not only for Lowcountry and South Carolina, across the country right now. The real estate market is just moving really quick. I can tell you for the Charleston region that it's not that there's less houses available. There's actually more transactions taking place than ever before. The numbers are off the charts. It's just everything's going quick. So I feel like people will say things like, there's not a lot available. There's more available than there ever was before. You just have to be ready to jump.
Yes, ma'am. And obviously you talk about, the 60% growth in Hanahan. What is your roadmap that is for equity in Hanahan?
I'm so happy you brought that up, Quintin, because we have a few focuses we've been focusing on in 2021, and they're continuing into 2022. And there's 2 main features of that. Right now, we're doing our comprehensive plan, and that's a document that's required by law every 10 years. It does get an update between those 10-year marks, but the big portion of the document gets updated every 10 years. And we are actually in the year of the comprehensive plan. And so we have recently held over the past few weeks multiple charrettes, which are public input meetings and we've hosted them all over town at all different times to really welcome in as many residents as we could. And the residents did a great job. They showed up. They shared what they loved about Hanahan. They shared different things they would want to see in Hanahan. And right now, we're working with the Berkeley County COG to compile those results, and I hope to see them soon of exactly what has been asked for, or to change or to have or whatnot. Now, in addition to that, the City of Hanahan has chosen to put in their budget a master plan of their downtown area, and that's where we hire an outside company who will also host some charrettes, focus on the downtown, invite business owners that are here to say what's going well, what would you like to see, invite people who want to become a part of our downtown, maybe new business owners or investors, and say what would make this a place that you would want to call home. And most importantly, have our residents come in and say, hey, what do you think we need and what do you want that to look like? And so we're getting ready. We're underway. We've already approved it in the budget. We're getting ready to bring someone in to do that, and then we'll start having those public input meetings. So we actually love the fact that the comprehensive plan and master plan are going on at the same exact time. It couldn't be more ideal. And to come out of that, we hope to really have a good picture of what people want the City of Hanahan to look like moving forward in the future, and then really working to get that word out to bring in what they want. And so right now we're just trying to be really good listeners, and then work the plan that's put in place.
Now, you talk about those businesses in the downtown Hanahan, and I've been to some of those for my job. How do you help local businesses boost their competitiveness among those other businesses coming into the city?
One thing I love is the local feel that we also have here in Hanahan, like shop local type stuff. That's very trendy, but I think that's very normal for Hanahan. It's not just a trendy thing. It's Chad at the hardware store at the corner because of that whole culture that we have here. So you're like, oh, let me ask Chad if he has that. I'm going to run there and grab it. So I love just the way that occurs here of the shop local. And, personally, on a personal note, I try to advertise when I'm at a local store because I feel like a lot of people, being that little hidden gem of Hanahan, they might not even know it's here outside of Hanahan. And so trying to work with them. Recently, I'll share a story. I got in touch, or they got in touch with me, the Charleston chapter of the American Heart Association. And we just had a conference call and talked about how I can, in any way be of help to their organization. And they shared some upcoming events that they have going on. And the next upcoming one is on February 4th, and it's a Wear Red Day. And it's really to just bring education, enlightenment to people about heart issues, which is huge. Talk about the killer in America right now. We probably need to put more focus on some of these other things that are, taking lives. And so I'm happy to do that. We had a great conversation, but I was like, what can I do to make this better for everyone, right? So I was on the phone with an employee at a boutique that we have here called the Governor's Wife Boutique. And I mentioned this and I said, and I don't know if she'll do it or not. I said, but you could do some sort of, hey, 10% of sales this week will go towards American Heart Association for anything you buy that's red. And then on Friday, February 4th, wear your red, take a picture, tag us, tag the American Heart Association. And, you get sales, they get donations, everybody is educated. So, these things just kind of pop in my head, and then I'm willing to make a call to say what can happen. So I feel like it's a support of an organization that's local. It's a support of a local business. I think it's something, who knows, again, if it'll happen or not, but I'm just willing to have the conversation to see if we could pair it up. So different things like that as well. I'll jump on it if I can.
And how would you create a business preservation alliance?
That's something that I just spoke with my finance director about in the City of Hanahan too, because we just actually hit a certain threshold that we didn't even have on the radar, that once you do, money has to go to a chamber for money that you're bringing in from business taxes. And so one thing we talked about right before COVID, I went with a fellow council member, Jeff Chandler. We took a little field trip up to Aiken. They have a beautiful downtown area. If you've ever been there, Quintin, if not, go take a trip. Tell Mayor Rick up there I said hello while you're up there. Osmond, he's wonderful. And so he was such a wonderful host. He brought us in and brought in their economic development people and just shared with us what they do in their downtown so that we could replicate some of it. Unfortunately, we did that meeting right before COVID, and so things kind of got put on halt for that. But what we're looking to do down the line at some point is develop our own economic action team, economic commerce type development thing right here in the City of Hanahan to bring them in and partner. So we're not quite there yet, but it is on our radar. We've done our research and we kind of have it sitting there ready to go. So I think we're getting close to the point where we could do something like that.
I love the horses on Aiken.
Yes, isn't that so fun? The real ones and the cool ones downtown, both.
Yes,
It's
yes,
great.
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I love horses. Is the city helping retain and expand those existing businesses in the city of Hanahan?
Yes, actually, one of the biggest challenges that we face is there are businesses here and they're here. And so the new businesses come in and we have nowhere to put them. So I mentioned that meeting that I had earlier that week. That was one of the conversations that we had regularly, because the person that had come with him that was trying to help him, his commercial realtor, with this project, she said, I have 4 businesses right now wanting to come in and I have nowhere to put them in Hanahan. So one of the biggest challenges we face is really getting the commercial spaces for them to go. So that's something that we're actively having those conversations about, pursuing as much as we can, because the businesses that are here love being here. Amazon is here. It's one of my favorites. You'll see their trucks everywhere. They're based here in Hanahan. It's just such a central location. The taxes are low here, so that's another great reason. I had one business say, I got to get out of the city. I'd like to, definitely look into Hanahan because of that. So depending on what they're looking for, but between location, the low taxes, the welcoming feel, we really try to make it an attractive place. So once they're here, they don't want to go. So we're trying to get in some more spaces for new businesses that would like to arrive as well.
And what future businesses, Mayor, would protect that tax base?
So our leakage report, the biggest leakage that we have is actually restaurants. We do not have a lot of restaurants here in Hanahan. We desperately need more restaurants. So just as an example, if you were to look at Mount Pleasant, they're about 3 times larger than us, and they have just under 400 restaurants last time I checked TripAdvisor. So not, whatever source, but just kind of run with me on this example. So if you were to compare that to Hanahan, we should have just over 100 if we're coming in just under 30,000 residents. So that, percentage-wise would work. Well, we have under a dozen. Less than a dozen. So when you look at how many we should have compared to how many we do have, they're going elsewhere. People are still eating. They're not eating. So they're just going to other cities to eat. So I want to say the last stat I saw was about $740 million a year in leakage for restaurants. So it's huge. I like to give an example too. We don't have a doctor we do have one office that is a direct primary care. They don't accept insurance, but outside of that, we don't have a typical doctor where you just go and show your insurance card and be seen. There are just some really basic services that we need to have here, and they're close. You're not going far. Thankfully we have great neighbors, Goose Creek and North Charleston. They have these services, but again, let's keep them off the road. Let's keep the taxes in Hanahan. So if I can, provide buildings where people are coming in to develop the commercial space, and then we have people, the businesses looking to come in, we could welcome them in. It really would be a match made in heaven.
And I haven't been to the Pig Wiggly over there yet, but I'm assuming they have great food in the deli.
I'm sure they do. That shopping center is actually for sale, so I'm curious to see what happens there. We were just having a conversation about that yesterday, but yeah, we have a pig and we have Doshers, and then we just welcomed in Lowe's Food this year, 2021 we did, and they said it was the biggest grand opening they've ever had. And if you've not been in there, it's kind of like the Disney World of grocery stores. It's quite the experience. It's not just shopping, it's an experience while you have your shopping. So it's just some really fun stuff that we have available. So thank God we do have some things. I do feel bad. There are certain areas of the low country food deserts where they don't have anything. So we're very grateful for what we do have, but there's definitely still opportunity for more.
And what more do you want for Hanahan?
Oh, goodness, Quintin, I want it all for them. Definitely to keep that hometown feel. That's the number one thing. I can add a road. I can find a store. But that culture, that has got to be nurtured because it is so special and it's not just something you can get anywhere. But as far as the practicality, I want to continue to make sure that we have affordability for everyone on all spectrums, but still make it a place that's beautiful. I want it to be beautified. I want it to be a special place that you drive through and know how special it is at first glance before you've even met a person, and then it confirms it once you have a conversation with a Hanahanian. And then I want to bring in the services that provide quality of life. So we're doing a great job on the park and rec side with everything we've got going on this year. The new park, the 53-acre park, they'll have active and passive that's being developed over off North Rhett. That it's just so special. And then that new one that I talked about with the kayaks and walking trails and Stewart, I think that's going to provide wonderful quality of life for our residents in addition to what we already have, like the amphitheater and the ball fields and Bettis boat landing. We already have so many great features. And then continuing to work on this downtown area, bringing in the economic development, finding out where that leakage is, pursuing those businesses, And then thankfully, Hanahan is one of the safest cities in the state of South Carolina. I get emails somewhat regularly that, tell us where we rank, and we're usually in the top 10. So just continuing to make sure that our police and fire have the resources they need to keep Hanahan safe. Thankfully, they do a great job right now, and that's why we look the way we do. But just continuing to do that. We had 3 structure fires. I want to say, I can't remember the time frame. It was either last year or these past few months. But I was talking to one of our staff members about it, and we didn't lose any of the structures. They were able to save all of them in time. And so, again, coming down with that ISL rating, making sure our response times, police and fire, are above par. I just want to give it to them all. I want them to have a wonderful place to live and to work and to play.
Hanahan Mayor Christie Rainwater, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks so much, Quintin. I love chatting with you, and I'm so grateful for this awesome city. Hope to keep it as good as it's always been and make it even better.
Alrighty.